And welcome back, everybody, to a podcast in space and time. I'm Holden B. Huffman.
And I'm Kendal Coffee.
And today we are discussing Doctor Who Series 3, Episode 2, The Shakespeare Code. So, Kendal.
So, Holden.
William Shakespeare.
The bard himself. The wordsmith. The guy who wrote a bunch of plays and stuff.
What do you mean stuff, man? William Shakespeare was a genius.
I mean, stuff as in, like, he wrote other things besides plays, but...
Okay.
You know, he wrote, like, sonnets and...
That's fair.
All that good stuff.
Right.
He wrote good stuff.
He did. I am a big fan of Hamlet. Very good play.
Hamlet's great. I'm a big fan of the Disney adaptation of Hamlet, with the one with lions.
Starring Donald Glover?
No, not that one. Donald Glover's great, but not that one.
Yeah, no, I get you. So yeah, again, really solid episode. I personally love this episode. I can understand why other people don't love it, but I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's another great historical episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I've noticed about historical episodes is they do kind of tend to have a similar theme, where, like, you know, weird stuff is happening in history that seems like other things, but it's actually aliens.
Right. And like it always has something to do with something historic about the person. And like they try to explain it in a weird, timey-wimey alien way.
Right. We got a very similar episode with
The Unquite Dead with Charles Dickens.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So like it was a very similar premise, except instead of it being instead of witches, it was ghosts, and like it kind of explains.
And it was after A Christmas Carol. That took place after A Christmas Carol. When this takes place before Macbeth.
Right.
I'm not in a theater, so I do not have to break that curse now.
I was going to ask, are we allowed to say Macbeth on this?
We are. It's only in a theater. You don't want to say it in the theater.
Oh, okay. That's when it's specifically bad luck.
Yeah, it is specifically bad luck in the theater.
So if you're listening to this episode in the theater,
stop.
Well, I'm sorry, you can't. It's too late now.
Yeah. Let's
Macbeth.
We've said it enough times. We will refer to it now as the proper way, the Scottish play.
Scottish play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I everyone knows this about me by now. I'm a huge theater buff. I have an associate. I just actually gained my associates in fine arts and theater, and I'm currently auditioning to transfer to university for theater. And so again, I've done studies about Shakespeare. I've read up on Shakespeare. I wrote papers, blah 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 blah.
So this episode is like very specifically your jam.
Yeah, this is my jam, man. I have a lot of notes that I'm going to get into specifically just about Shakespeare and some plays and whatnot, which is in relevance to this episode. So it won't be like just completely non-relevant and everything. So
yeah, I mean, like, even as a not really a big theater nerd, like I caught several references, and I'm sure there were many more that I did not catch.
Yeah. There were some I did obviously miss, because again, I just have an associate's. I don't have my bachelor's yet, so I've still got a lot to learn.
You're not a master's of the theater.
I'm not even a bachelor's yet.
Okay, so
some creepy BDSM there. Whew.
There was some vibes.
We all were thinking it. We all
Yeah.
were thinking it.
We're actually our D&D group right now is playing The Curse of Strahd, and
Yes.
this isn't really a spoiler, but there's one part where you find like a group of witches, and there were very similar vibes that were going on.
And luckily, thank God, when we were playing, I actually knocked on the door instead of crashing through it like I normally do.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did it, but I'm glad I did because we were so underpowered.
Earlier in the campaign, he crashes through the door of a of like a church, a chapel, and
while we were carrying a corpse,
we were carrying a casket, and he like just burst through the doors of this church, and then like later when we're encountering like man-eating witches, he like knocks, and I'm like, well, I guess this is character development.
Hey, to be fair, you ate some of the children pies.
I didn't know it was made of children.
Look, I figured it was made of children. It was too obvious, but your character is dumb.
Listen, here's the thing. I figured out it was made of children. My character is dumb. He did not figure it out. Anyway.
That is very fair. Gust is an idiot.
That's enough of our D&D shenanigans on the Doctor Who podcast.
I love that campy cold opening.
Yes, there was just such a good sense of like campiness to this episode.
The good old classic witches riding on broomsticks and disgusting faces with pointy noses and everything.
Yeah, I love just how like typical the witches were, which also kind of makes sense for like it being a Shakespearean episode.
Right. I'm gonna try to get into my more theater nerd stuff near the end before we get into spoiler territory.
Yeah.
I just want to go ahead and get everything else out of the way before I dive into that, because that could take a while.
One thing I noticed about this episode was just that like everybody really wanted to get it on.
Yeah.
Like, everybody. There was a lot.
Yeah, and well, you got to remember this was 1599.
But back in the olden days, everyone was so chaste and pure. Not like these days. They were.
Yeah, everyone now is just so horny and everything. No one was horny then.
No, horniness was invented in
the 90s.
I guess, yeah.
No, I'd say the 60s during Woodstock. Or was that the 70s?
I think Woodstock. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah,
we know stuff about history, surely.
Yeah.
If it's not theater relevant, we have no idea.
Yeah.
Or design relevant in my case.
Right. I loved that the psychic paper didn't work on Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespeare was just so like brilliant and clever in this episode, which I appreciated.
Right, that it wouldn't work on him. He, like you said, he's so brilliant and clever. It just wouldn't work for him because, like, yeah,
and he like had the Doctor figured out pretty early.
Right.
Like he was early on. He was like, "How can a man so young have eyes so old?"
Oh yes, I wrote that line down. That was a good line.
That was a great line. And then later, like he's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna go back and travel through space and time," and the Doctor's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I figured it out."
Look, I'm a genius, and I'm so humble about it too.
I'm a very humble genius.
I loved the acting from what's his name?
One who played Shakespeare?
Yeah, Dean Lennox Kelly.
Yeah.
Especially when he was pretending to be a puppet.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was very good.
That was a good bit.
Just like that blank, like lifeless stare was very convincing.
Mm-hmm. Very good. The Doc always gets really cross and annoying whenever only one heart is working.
I mean, same.
I mean, you only have one heart.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
um,
Dang, all I have left are spoilers and random theater notes that I'll get into. So go ahead and finish your notes.
okay, we'll have other notes. So we got a reference to Harry Potter Book 7, which had not
Yes.
been released yet.
And also, I just love the fact that they're talking about Harry Potter when David Tennant's been in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's like in Captain America Civil War when Spider-Man mentions the Empire Strikes Back and everything. And like Samuel L. Jackson is in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like it makes me think of the movie The Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because in that universe, they have the movie Terminator exists, but it's played by Sylvester Stallone. So it makes me think of stuff like that. Like they have someone else playing this character.
Yeah.
And everything. And like there's this explanation for that.
Yeah, and then of course we've discussed it before, but there was also the parting of the ways reference in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Let's see. When the doctor said something about, okay, are we just gonna keep flirting around, or we can flirt around later? And Shakespeare's like, "Is that a promise, Doctor?" 57 academics just punched the air.
Yeah, that's what I was going. That was one of my notes I had saved for later. Because it is true. There were academics that like really believed that William Shakespeare was bisexual.
Yeah.
And like a lot of his sonnets were written for men. And like, back in those days you couldn't come out or you'd like be hanged.
Yeah.
Burned at the stake.
Burned or whatever, right? Put in a mental institution.
Right. And so a lot of people thought that the sonnet he told Martha that I compare thee to a summer's day was written specifically towards a man. Like a lot of people believe that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, it was written to Martha Jones.
It was written to Martha Jones. Yeah, it was really funny that they had like the reference to Shakespeare's like sexuality, and then like they kind of had the reference to the sonnet that like people most strongly believe was written to a man. Right. It was kind of a weird, like, I don't know, it was kind of funny or weird that they did that.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
Okay.
This is just a great mystery episode. I love a good mystery episode. We've talked about that before, but
I wouldn't particularly call this a mystery. Not like your traditional Agatha Christie or it didn't feel like something Agatha Christie-ish, not mystery Sherlock Holmes or anything.
I guess what I mean is like in reference more to like the Globe Theater and how it was like created for this specific purpose, and like they were kind of figuring that out as it went.
Okay, I can see what you mean.
I guess that's like the mystery part I'm talking about, which also explains why this episode was titled in reference to the Da Vinci Code, because like the Da Vinci Code is kind of like looking at like historical signs and like creating some like conspiracy out of it.
Yeah, because I mean the original title for this episode was Love's Labor's Won. Yeah, but they decided to retitle it to the Shakespeare Code.
Right. So good on Doctor Who for cracking the code of why the Globe Theater was really created. It was created to summon witches or whatever.
Yeah.
Also enjoyed the Back to the Future reference.
Yeah.
How do you explain the mechanics of the infinite temporal flux? Oh, I know, Back to the Future.
What, the movie?
Yeah.
No, the novelization. Of course the movie.
Of course the movie. Which I think as far as time travel stories go, Back to the Future is one of like the more
mainstream.
Yeah, and the more straightforward forms of time travel. Like you go to the past, you change something, and it like causes the future to change, which Doctor Who is like fairly consistent with.
Yeah, Doctor Who sometimes Doctor Who is Back to the Future. Sometimes Doctor Who is Avengers Endgame. You don't know which one it's going to be.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I wish the show would be a little more consistent with is like how it handles its time travel.
Right.
But when you have a show like this with like different writers for a lot of episodes and like different showrunners,
right?
Like I understand why it's the way it is.
Right.
But anyway, that's a much longer discussion. That's not really relevant to this episode.
Yeah, no, not really.
But Back to the Future slaps.
I've only seen the first one.
The first one's probably the best. All three are good though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just never seen the other two. I love the first one. I just never seen the other two.
Yeah, they're solid movies. Also the Doctor was really thick when what's her name?
The Doctor's really thick.
What was her name? Lilith? Yeah, when Lilith was getting his hair.
Yeah, he should have known that. He should have known what was going on.
Yeah, because he was so focused on like, oh, she's trying to like give me a kiss of death or whatever. No, she was trying to get your hair. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Be smarter than this.
Yeah, it's debatable. It's very debatable.
Yeah. One thing I really appreciate about the Doctor and about episodes like this is how the Doctor, like, I don't know, oftentimes the Doctor is the one who saves the day, but so often the Doctor is the one kind of like empowering others to save the day. And we see that with at the end with him, like, just his faith in Shakespeare to be able to like crack the code and reverse the spell that the witches had created.
That reminds me of a future episode in series 10, The Eaters of Light.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say on the subject, because spoilers.
Right. But yeah, we do see this pretty often though, and it's really nice. Like the Doctor, because the Doctor is such a like front man, front woman. Like the Doctor like is so often taking charge, but it's really nice to see those moments where the Doctor like steps back and lets someone else take charge and like save the world. I really enjoy when that happens.
Just let me know when you're done with your notes.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got.
All right. Let's
talk Shakespeare.
Yeah, not heading into spoilers quite yet. I'm going to get down to the nitty-gritty theater stuff.
Ooh.
All right. Not an accurate representation about what was going on in the balconies. Not at all. Yeah, no, they were too into the play. They weren't too into each other. Yeah, it is very well known that the people up there are doing it.
Yeah.
Like major orgies in the balcony during a show.
I'm going to hear you, but this is a PG show.
That's fair.
there might have been a lot of sexual tension in this episode, but this is a PG show.
Release the Gareth cut.
Please don't.
Listen, I want the butthole version of Cats.
Oh
we also deserve this.
We can't talk about Cats every episode.
Listen, it's been a while since we've talked about Cats. It has been a while, okay? Listen, we haven't mentioned the Timeless Children in a while either, okay?
Now you did.
I know it.
Anyway.
Okay, another thing. shoot. Where is it? Oh, yeah, the Scottish play. Yeah, and really, this is the last thing I have about the whole Shakespeare thing. So, history on the Scottish play. It is cursed, and a lot of theaters won't do it because of this curse. Because usually, when this play is performed, tragedies happen. Like, there's been instances of like people, the lead actor dying unexpectedly for no reason at all, and just stuff like that.
Right.
Weird, crazy shenanigans that just always go around with this play. Reason is because A, there are 3 witches in the play surrounded by a cauldron. And because Shakespeare had dealings with witches, it is rumored that Shakespeare had some entanglement with witches. No one knows what it is, which is really the basis, the core of this episode, is that experience of him dealing with those witches.
Right.
And which is why that play is cursed.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that this episode wasn't more about that play.
Yeah.
It seems like the more obvious choice.
Man, listen, they were filming at the Globe Theatre. You don't want to mention the Scottish play at the Globe Theatre.
So was this actually filmed at the Globe Theatre? Does it still look like that?
Yeah, that is the Globe Theatre. You see, they rebuilt it. It was burned down after Shakespeare's death, I think. I could be getting this wrong. But the English church found it to be heresy, blasphemous, blah, 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 that stuff.
Naturally, as the English church did.
Yeah, and so they burnt it to the ground. Years and years and years and years and years and years later, they rebuilt it, and they still put on shows there today. And they still do the traditional men playing women. They do have women play sometimes, but they'll have some occasions where they go completely traditional.
Right.
Which is very fun. And in fact, my theater instructor at my community college, she got her master's in London, and she studied in the Globe Theatre quite often.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I bet that was fun.
Oh yeah. For a theater nerd of any kind, it would be fun.
Yeah.
Like London's already one of my dream destinations, but also just getting to go see the Globe Theatre would just be phenomenal. I mean, all of my historic places to see theater related, the Globe Theatre actually isn't my number one pick. It would be Greece. Because that's where theater originated. I want to see the stepping stones of theater. I want to just see where it all begun.
Right.
Where Sophocles, I don't know. Yeah, Sophocles. No? Yeah, Sophocles. I'm beginning to understand how I came up with my D&D character's name.
Yeah, I was about to say. Is that how you name Sophocles?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, now that I think about it,
you want to see where it all began. I totally get that.
Yeah, and plus, I'm just a huge buff for Greek mythology as well. I love Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So it also plays into that as well. So, okay, yeah, that's all my theater Shakespearean related notes.
All right, let's get into spoilers.
Spoiler warning. I can't believe Shakespeare died in this episode.
I believe Shakespeare dies in this episode.
Hamlet never gets written. The Lion King never existed.
Oh, no.
But neither did the live action version. I'm sorry.
And also a lot of theater people survived because Hamlet wasn't written.
No, that's the Scottish play.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You uncultured swine.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I get those two mixed up.
How do you get Hamlet and the Scottish play mixed up?
Because they have it's just a name. Like the thing is a name.
Well, so is Julius Caesar.
That's two names.
But it's a name. Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm probably going to mess up something when we get to Vincent and the Doctor, and you're probably just going to lay into me over it.
I will roast you for it.
I apologize.
It's fine. We have fun here.
But legit, how do you not know the difference?
I don't know. Anyway. So we see Queen Elizabeth I in this episode.
Right, and we see her 2 other times in the future.
Yes, so we will see her again.
We can go ahead and talk about it. This is the spoiler section.
We will find out why. Yeah, but I don't know. It might be more fun to wait and talk about that later. But we will find out why.
I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth now hates the Doctor because the next mention of Queen Elizabeth I is in The End of Time Part 1, when the Doctor just arrived on the Ood's planet and said, I got married to Queen Elizabeth. So much for it was a bit of an accident, but so much for the Virgin Queen.
Yeah.
And then they mention her again in Series 5, Episode 2, The Beast Below. When they're in the future, the Starship Britain or whatever. Yeah. And the new queen there is like, I've read your record. So much for the Virgin Queen, you bad, bad boy. And then we get another mention of her in The Day of the Doctor, where we see where they actually interact when David Tennant's Doctor actually marries her. And I can understand why she now hates him. Because he said, I will be right back. Right after they got married.
He says that.
And they didn't have a honeymoon. I can understand why she's pissed. Yeah, yeah, I can understand.
I mean, so she's technically still the Virgin Queen unless they got it done real quick.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He would have thought he was doing it with a Zygon. I don't think he would have done that.
Well, yeah, probably not.
He did kiss a Zygon, but I don't think he had sex with a Zygon.
Whew, that's a fan fiction I do not want to read.
And then we get another mention of her in the Husbands of River song where the Doctor and River are arguing about all the people they've both married.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe, Queen Elizabeth I, Cleopatra. That's the Queen Elizabeth spoilers.
So we also got another kind of reference to the Doctor's name.
Yeah. Because when the witch person, lady, girl, I don't know.
Lilith.
What?
Lilith.
When Lilith called him by his name, the Doctor, nothing happened. It should have. But the thing is, that's not his name.
Yeah. Yeah, and she said that. She's like, why do you hide your name? Or whatever she said, something along those lines.
Yeah.
By the way, played by Christina Cole.
Nice.
Was Lilith. And we also, so I don't know if this ever comes up again, but Lilith also said that the Carionites were banished by someone called the Eternals. Do we ever hear that term again?
I don't believe so. The only thing I can think of is an episode from the last season, Series 12, the Can You Hear Me? but I don't think they were the Eternals because they were villains. Let me.
Oh, hold on.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm looking it up on the wiki. Okay, so the Eternals were elemental beings of immense power, but limited creativity, who used the thoughts and emotions of so-called ephemerals for their own ends and their own minds.
Okay,
their own minds were used.
They were classic Who They were classic Who characters.
Yeah.
During Peter Davidson's run. Okay.
Yeah, and they were also, so we see some in the audio series as well, and in a couple of the novels.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
here we go. Yeah,
like you said in series 12, the episode "Can You Hear Me?" We
Okay, they are Eternals, but they must be different Eternals. You know, a different race of not the same race, just different people.
Right, like a different group from that same.
All right. Okay, I didn't realize those were returning villains.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I thought it felt like vaguely familiar, but I definitely could not place it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So cool. That's something we just learned. One last note. Do you have anything else?
That's all I really have.
Okay, I have one last note. Yeah, it's totally Martha's fault for thinking the doctor was into her when he's obviously mourning Rose.
Oh my gosh. So, like, I don't really read much fan fiction. I know I joke about it a lot, but, like, I know enough of it to know that, like, there's a whole, like, trope of, you know, you take your OTP, your one true pairing, and, like, you write a story where they're, like, in a hotel room together and there's only one bed, and that's, like, a source of romantic tension and conflict. And we literally get that in this episode.
And it was the doctor's idea to share the bed.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
Yeah, the doctor's just oblivious. I do blame him for a lot of it. I do understand that he's also just completely oblivious to the whole social stuff.
Yeah, like he's not great at social cues.
It's still partially his fault. Sure, I can blame Martha for a bit of it, but the doctor plays a lot into it as well.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily want to say it's the doctor's fault, but
right,
like I don't want to say it's Martha's fault. Like,
right,
it's not her fault for reading into certain social cues in the way that, like, most people would, you know?
Yeah,
like
I totally would. I have before.
Yeah, like, if I was in that situation, like, I would think the doctor was hitting on me as well.
Yeah. I mean, David Tennant hitting on me. Whew.
I mean, whew, yeah. Yeah, that's all I've got there.
All right. So I guess we'll call that an episode. This is going to be a relatively decent episode.
Yeah, I think we probably went a little longer than usual.
Yeah, that's okay. We've been doing a lot of short ones lately.
And this is a great episode to talk about.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Join us next week as we get around to Doctor Who Series 3, Episode 3, Gridlock, where we have the return of the Face of Bo.
Ooh.
A.K.A. Captain Jack Harkness. But not really. Kind of.